Anybody here who's in a category of really ill? Anybody? Really ill? Really? Okay. Well, welcome. I'm on the opposite end. I've been around a long time. Let's meet in the middle. The topic for this evening is conceptions of divinity, and it was inspired by one of the universities that I visited. I visited in the month of April. I mentioned this earlier, 18 different universities all around the place. And one of them was Illinois Institute of Technology, IIT, in Chicago. And I came the second week after this topic was started the week before, and it only got into 2 little divisions and it took 4 hours. So I was I became inspired, so much inspired by the topic that I'm giving serious thought to developing a series that starts with and goes through different ideas that are out there in the spiritual marketplace today and for a long period of time. Conceptions of divinity. And so this evening I'm just going to do a little slice of a larger topic. So it's just starting or scratching the surface a little bit. And I'm going to take special attention, or give special attention to a topic that's discussed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The image here, can you see the screen, or should the lights go down? Can we try turning the lights down and see what happens? Maybe make the image better or easy to see. So, in the image here, this is Shukadeva SWAMI standing, and kneeling before him is the king. Shukadeva SWAMI is 16 years old. And they're by the bank of the sacred river, depicted in the foreground. And the circumstance surrounding the scene is the king uncharacteristically made an offense or spoke improperly and dealt a little harshly to a Brahmana who was in meditation, and he insulted him. And his son took exception. His son knew some sacred mantras, and his son cursed that the king should die for offending my father, feeling he should die in 7 days by the bite of a mystical snake bird. By the way, there's no such thing as a snake bird. There's birds and there's snakes. The snake bird was a mystical creation by mantra in 7 days. So the king was informed, you're going to die in 7 days, so you have to prepare. So he turned his kingdom over to his eldest son, Janamejaya. He gave the crown and the royal attire and everything, and took simple thought of amendment and went by the side of the sacred river, requested all the holy people from all the land to come and advise him what he should do to prepare for death. And he had two questions. One was, what's the duty of a man who's about to die? And it was a broad question beyond just himself, because after all, he was king of the whole land, and he's concerned about the citizens. So what are the citizens supposed to do when they know that they're going to die? Is there anybody here that can say that they know they're not going to die? We're all going to die. He had the good fortune of knowing how long it would take before he died. We don't know. We could be driving home and not make it home. One day we're going to get up and go somewhere and not make it. One day it's going to happen. We don't know when. We know it's going to happen. So what's the duty of somebody who knows that they're going to die? That's all of us. And the second question is, what is that subject matter that one should always hear, chant, and remember during his lifetime? So that was the question that was presented by the king, and then Shukadeva Goswami responds. You can look in your Srimad Bhagavatam, it's hopefully sitting in your shelf in your home, or you can go online and read it digitally, database. And so I'm just going to very quickly summarize the first three chapters, because the first three chapters are, in summary, the answer to that question. So in the first chapter, it speaks of the universal form. This is one of many paintings depicting the universal form. This is the universal form that was shown to Arjuna. As you see in the image in the lower right, there's Arjuna being shown this universal form by Krishna. The description of that universal form in Canto 2, Chapter 1, is more a vision of pantheism, of seeing God within nature. And the explanation goes, before you can think of God, there has to be a conception of God, or the Supreme. And because we're accustomed to having conceptions of that which our senses can perceive, so a beginning point is to see God within nature. And to see God within nature, this is pantheism. So it doesn't use the word pantheism, it uses the word Vishva Rupa, the form of the universe. So developing a personal conception of God by seeing things in nature. That's the first chapter. First step in God realization, that's the title. And then chapter 2 advises move from that position, from seeing God within nature to see God within. And so it gives a very elaborate description of the presence of God that's within. And different religions of the world teach the same thing. The religion that I grew up with as a young boy was the kingdom of God is within you. And Vedas says the same thing. God is there, and the king, who is the king of the kingdom of God, he's there. And the whole everything is there. This description of the features of the hands of the Supreme Lord, club, disc, conching lotus, standing like this image shows on a lotus flower, in the lotus of the heart. And the image or the conception of the Lord of the heart is found throughout the Vedas. I'm just going to give one specific reference from Sri Vishnupara Upanishad. Now, those many of you that aren't new you know what the Upanishads are. Have you heard of the Upanishads before? Never. You heard of the Vedas, you heard of Bhagavad Gita? Great. Okay. So the Vedas are this vast body of literature. Veda means knowledge, different departments of knowledge. Knowledge of medicine, Ayurveda, you heard of that one? And so knowledge of medicine, knowledge of architecture, knowledge of government, knowledge of social structure, knowledge of self-realization, Bhagavad Gita's self-realization knowledge, different items of knowledge. Vast library of Vedas. The Upanishads are the philosophic portion. They give us the foundation or the basis of the rituals that are found in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. The what and the why, and the how is in the Karma Kanda section. So in this Svetashvatara Upanishad, very prominent, well-known, well-respected part of the Upanishads, it speaks specifically, just took one section from it. It speaks of this Paramatma, or super soul, the Lord of the heart. And it even gives a physical measurement. Measuring the size of the thumb, the Purusha is always present as the super soul within the hearts of all living beings. There's a cover of Sri Krishna Upanishad. Now, when asked, Prabhupada, that's in the big seat in the back there, that's Prabhupada. So, when Prabhupada was asked, or the founder of this talk was asked the question, what does this mean, the size of the thumb? What about a little insect, the size of an ant? Is super soul 6 inches, the size of the thumb? You kind of toddling along, dragging super soul along the ground, and he walks along the house of work. And Prabhupada's explanation was, it's our Acharya is also described this way, that the size of the thumb is to indicate approximate the size of the heart. Heart is, for a human form, is around the size of the thumb. And between the thumb and the forefinger, sometimes spoke like this. So, just to give an idea of the physical region where the super soul resides, because the super soul resides in the heart, but the super soul also resides within every atom. And atom is pretty small, too small for the eye to even see. And super soul, in all of its fullness, with all the potencies and everything that's within every atom. So, the second chapter, Conception of Divinity, is in addition to seeing God within nature, now let's move to God who moves within the heart of every living being. Go to the heart, just to tell you that chapter 2. And then chapter 3, Conceptions of Divinity, is moving from the position of God within the heart. There's the personal conception of Bhagavan conception, or the conception of God as the Supreme Person, who has his residence in the vastness of the spiritual sky. And that conception of God in the vastness of the spiritual sky is Krishna. But Krishna is described. Just as Krishna is described in this text, this is the cover picture for Sri Brahma Samhita. Sri Brahma Samhita is spoken by Lord Brahma, who is pictured here. And the process of creation is described, the austerities that Brahma underwent before he began creation, and so forth. And then his mature stage of realization. So the introductory verse, that's this one, sums up Krishna's position as the ultimate conception of divinity. Let's chant the verse together. It's nice one. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karma. Let's go through this slowly. Ishvara means controller. And Ishvara Parama is the supreme controller, the controller of all controllers. And he has a name, Krishna. We're all controllers of something. We control our shoes. Unless somebody takes our shoes and we don't control them, they control them. So there's some part of the little piece of creation we control. But we're controlled by higher controllers. And there's universal controllers. We're going to speak about them shortly. And they're controlled by the supreme controller, named Krishna. And he has a vigraha, second line. He has a form that is made up of eternality, knowledge, and bliss. Unlike our form. Our forms aren't eternal by any means, nor are they by nature full of knowledge, or by nature full of bliss. But the form of Krishna is Satchitananda Vigraha. Then the third line, Anadir, means he's without beginning. But he's Adir, he's the beginning of all other things. And he's that specific form of Krishna is known as Govinda. It's very, very, very specific. Govinda is that form of the supreme in the spiritual realm of Goloka. And Sarva Karana Karana, the last line. Karana means causation. And he's the cause of all causes. And somebody may say, okay, he's the cause of all causes, and what's the cause of him? And the answer is, he has no cause. He's the cause of all causes, that's the meaning. Other things may have their cause. Like people say, you know, if God is the source of everything, where did that come from? That's a rhetorical question, but by definition, that from which everything else emanates doesn't emanate from something. Somewhere there's the domino, the ultimate repress stops. Whatever that is, that's the absolute truth. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. So here's a very beautiful ancient painting of Gopal Krishna. Gopal meaning Krishna is the protector of cows, and he loves the cows, and cows love Krishna. Gopal, Govinda. Now, we'll take a look at Bhagavad Gita just a little bit. This little child needs to go somewhere where he can be as noisy and happy as he likes. Thank you very much. Children are very, very nice, and they like to make noise. They need a place to be happy and make noise. So, Bhagavad Gita, this is a cover picture of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna here speaking the message of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna on the battlefield. So, we're just going to make a couple of references of Bhagavad Gita verses which we can say together. Chapter 7, text 7. Mata Bharataram Nanya Injirasti Anantaya Mai Sarvamam Gautam Sukhe Amikadayava. Krishna says, O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So this is one of multiple statements where the conception of divinity, the conception of divinity stops with Krishna, because everything, whatever you can think of, whatever you can't think of, everything that exists rests upon Krishna. He is the source, it rests upon him. He is the highest conception of divinity. There's other places in Bhagavad. I'm thinking the 7th chapter, because there are those that don't have that understanding, that conception of divinity. They have a different conception. The conception is that there's many. This is the polytheism conception of divinity. There's many gods. And such persons consider many gods are just as good as any of the other many gods. So here's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Amaisthaisa Vidyana Prapatyante Anjanevata Tam Tam Yama Asaya Prakrityani Asaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires, surrendered unto the devatas, or demigods, and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Anya devata, various demigods. So, who are the demigods anyways? According to the Vedic conception, after creation, it's not whimsical, the Supreme Creator puts people in charge of the departments of maintaining that universe that he creates. And the devatas, there's 33 million, there's principal ones, but the total is 33 million according to the Vedas. Various controllers of the universe. They control the wind, they control the water, they control the air, they control the light. You know, it's like a city government. Different departments in charge of the city or a state or the country. These are department heads, different departments of universal affairs. And they're empowered to control those things, and they're empowered to give benedictions. There's a section in the Srimad Bhagavatam. If one wants good health, you worship the sun. If one wants a good wife, one worships this one. One wants beauty, one worships that one. One wants wealth, you worship that one. And whatever your needs are, cornucopia of what your needs may be, there's devatas you can worship, and they can take care of those needs. But then there's one who supplies the ability of those devatas to take care of the needs. And not knowing that, those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires, they worship the persons that give this thing and that thing, the other thing, that are the necessities of life. But the necessities that they supply, they're antava, they're limited and temporary. Let's hear what Krishna says in this verse, same chapter 7. Antavatu phalam tesham Atavatyam vedasam devam devayo yanti Matavataryam vimamti. Then a small intelligence of vedasam. Worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. This word phala means fruit, and their fruits are they're limited, they're tiny. And for the time period, they don't last very long. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods. The blind devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. And there's this whole series of verses in chapter 7, mirrored once again, in case Arjuna didn't understand it, or we didn't understand it in chapter 7. It says essentially the same things again in chapter 9. Here's the verse in chapter 9. Yekyanyam devata bhakta yadinte yadayandika devimame kamuteya yadyantavniti purvakam. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti. But they do so in a wrong way. The Sanskrit word vid means to know, and avid or avidity means they don't know. Or in the wrong way, purvakam. Avidity purvakam. It's meant for worship of me, but not knowing that they worship other than me. And the faith to do that is in this ninth chapter. Where does one get the faith to do that? From the same place those who have the faith to worship Krishna. From Krishna, because he's the source of everything. He says specifically, I give them the faith to worship me, to worship the various demigods, or whatever they have, the conception of divinity that someone has. The faith in that conception of divinity comes from the Lord of the heart. He supports it. Although he's saying here in very clear language, it's done in the wrong way. So, again, the topic is conceptions of divinity, and to help support this particular, these, look around the room, largely non-resident Indians or those that were born in such families assembled. And very common, not universal, but very common in India is the conception of many gods. And that's considered what Hinduism is a place where there are many gods. But as I'm spending some time, a little slowly now, when, according to SWAMI, where it explains clearly these devatas are under and deriving their strength and capacity from the supreme conception of divinity, or from Krishna, or Govinda. So we're going to just cover 5 verses out of the entire Brahma Samhita, and I think you'll find it illuminating. Here's the 5 topics. They're not, I'm jumping a little bit in between, but we'll start with this first one with gradations of realms. And there's a recording, you can listen carefully. Hopefully this volume is good. This is Mahatma Prabhu singing. Did he came here to a Japanese? No? This is spoken by Lord Brahma, and he's describing the structure of the universe, and even beyond the universe. Very nice. And he starts with the lowest of realms, Devidam, Devi, Maheshu, Haridamasu, Teshu, Teshu. So he's looking up, and from above him is Devidam, and then that's the mundane world. Next above that is Maheshdam, the abode of Mahesh, or Lord Shiva. Above Maheshdam is Haridam, the abode of honey. You can see in this painting on the left-hand side. Devidam is this universe And there are many, many such universes emanating from the body of Mahavishnu. And that is the region of Divinity. Then above, you see that yellow arrow. That's in between the material and spiritual realm. That's the abode of Mahesh. And then there's the spiritual realm, where it's Vaikuntha, or Harinam. And above them all is located Krishna's own realm named Goloka. I adore the planning of Lord Govinda, who has allotted their respective authorities to the rulers of those created realms. The painting is showing Krishna in the middle, and then there's various devatas, and they have their realms, they have their abode, they have their dham. There's another painting or a chart that shows, we're going to start in the bottom. Very bottom shows one universe. Here's a close-up of that one universe. This is the basic picture of the structure of the universe. At the bottom is the Garbhodak ocean, fills up half of each universe. And then reclining on that Garbhodak ocean is Garbhodakshayani Vishnu. And from the navel of Garbhodakshayani Vishnu, you see this lotus stem. Bhagavatam says that lotus stem is the sum total karma of all the living entities within the universe. That's what the stem is. A lot of karma, a lot of living entities. Brahma appears at the top of that lotus, and then after some austerities and process of self-realization, he begins constructing the universe. And then populating the universe that he has constructed with the assistance of Prajapatis. So then it shows the shell, kind of like a coconut. Coconut has water inside, and then there's this heart, this hollow portion, and then there's a shell. And there's 7 layers of that shell. And then on the other side of the shell, the universes are like footballs. What's his name? Stephen Hawkins? Just the part of his body. I don't know what he said, but I was read that he said one of his final topics was the multiple universe model. Yes? And the Vedas said that long ago. They're like footballs floating on water. Footballs meaning they're not exactly round, but they're a little oval shape. And on the other side of that causal ocean that they're floating in, there's the vastness of the spiritual sky. And in between, there's this realm you see above the universe. This realm is the abode of Mahesh. Is a close image. There's Lord Shiva. There's Durga. And if you look very closely, you see this dark region here called Mahakala. And on the other side of that dark region is the abode of light, called Shivaloka. Time doesn't permit to go into all of this in detail if you want to at the end, but let's see. Lord Shiva is a complicated, he has many expansions, so he exists in many places, according to his function in those different places. But that's the abode of Mahesh. So Devi Dham, above that is Mahesh Dham, and above that is Hari Dham. There we see Shivaloka, this abode of light. And then in this region, this is the abode of Hari, or the Vaikuntha realm. And above the Vaikuntha realm, mentioned in this Brahma Samkhya verses, Golokadam. I'll draw your attention to what it says right here. The uppermost portion uppermost portion of Haridham is Ayodhya. I wish I had more time, but Ayodhya has intimacy that the rest of Haridham doesn't have. For example, in Ayodhya Dham, there's Dasara and Kaushalya. So in Haridham, does Narayana have a mother and father? Does Narayana have three brothers? Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna. There's an intimacy in Ayodhya Dham that makes it unique. Still, there's an awe and reverence feature towards Lord Ramachandra, but there's an intimacy in a highly personal feature, seemingly like us, but it's actually the other way around. Feature in Ayodhya. And then above that is Kalokadam. And in the center of that Kalokadam is the abode of Radha and Krishna. And the petals of the lotus where Krishna resides, these are the residential places of the associates of Krishna. Starting with the gopis and the other associates of Krishna. So, having gone through that, the graded realms, Devidam, Maheshtam, Haridam, Kalokadam. Now let's go, following Lord Brahma's explanation, into this realm of Devidam, and we're going to hear something now about Devi. You see the last word in the first line, Durga. And there's this adjective used to describe her as Chaya, shadow. So, here's the translation. The external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow, this Chaya. The shadow of the Chit potency is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. Devi Dham. She's in charge. It's her Dham. And who is she? She is her nature is, she's the shadow of the spiritual potency. Chit, in this case, means the spiritual potency. It can mean knowledge, but in this case, it means the spiritual potency. So there's the spiritual potency, and there's the shadow of the spiritual potency. Just like when the process of creation is to take place. This is a painting of Mahavishnu. Described in Brahma Samhita, described in Srimad Bhagavatam, two different places. The description goes like this. I'll do it medium speed, not too slow. The big picture of time is that time moves in cycles. Like, the seasons, summer, fall, winter, spring, or day and night, and there's different divisions of the day and different divisions of the night. Or, a decade, or a century, or a time moves in cycles. All the different examples. So, creation, maintenance, and dissolution. There's a certain number for the duration of that time. And the duration of cosmic annihilation is an equal duration. And when that duration is finished, again the cycle of creation makes it into destruction, begins, and then it continues and is wound up. Time is cyclical. The universe is expanding, and again, the universe will contract and be withdrawn. So, during the period of cosmic annihilation, there's two things. The living entities, the Sanskrit word is samasti, means the totality of all living entities. That's a lot of living entities. And they're all within the body of Mahavishnu for this resting period. And then material nature or Prakriti is in this dormant state, undifferentiated dormant state, like a big warehouse where everything's all jumbled up. Nothing is differentiated from everything else. In that pradhan state, it's like a shadow of Mahavishnu's spiritual potency. That's the chit potency message here. But he has two desires. They're both compassionate. The compassionate first one is the living entities that are now dormant, like anesthetized. Susupti is the Sanskrit term. Anybody here ever have surgery, for surgery that they have amnesia? Okay, somebody. So when amnesia, when anesthesia is administered, they have you count backwards from 10, 9, 8, and then you don't remember because you're under anesthesia. So when you're under anesthesia, you're not conscious of anything. The consciousness is there because the soul is there. But it's very covered, so much so they can cut you open and you don't feel it. Or they can do some procedure and you don't feel it. There's local anesthetic when you go to the dentist. But there's this overall anesthesia when you're having a surgery. So that's called susupti. It's a state where consciousness is there, but it's really dull. Just kind of, the light doesn't go out completely, but it's like consciousness is suspended. So that's the state of living entities within the body of Mahavishnu. Then he has this compassionate desire. I wish that these living entities could experience the fullness of their potential of happiness, because they're not experiencing that now. He just has that desire, icha, in Sanskrit. But the internal potency mentioned in this previous section, this chit potency, the spiritual potency of Vishnu, her name is Rama. Rama knows her master. He knows, she knows his desire. He didn't have to say it. He's just so intimately connected with him. And so she wants to assist him. She facilitates his desire by taking those living entities that are within his body and trusting them to his glance of the second compassionate. He sees at a distance this Chaya Devi, the reflection of his internal potency, and knows that she wants something to do. She wants some service, but she's dormant right now. So compassionately wishes her to have something to do. So Rama gives her something to do. The living entities are entrusted to the glance of Mahavishnu, glancing at Chaya Devi, and soon there they go, along with the time energy. And creation now starts. That which has been dormant, time energy is essential to help activate the process of creation. So that's what this image is here. That's Mahavishnu. You see his rays coming from his eyes, and that's his glance. Shambhu is called, is the glance of Mahavishnu. And the glance is impregnating Durga over there on the right with the living entities. And she takes charge of them and gives them Shrishti Sthiti Pralaya. That's her function. Here's Bhaktisiddhanta's language taken directly from the book of Purport. Devi Dham, that's of these three regions mentioned in the earlier verse. Devi Dham consisting of the 14 worlds, and Durga is its presiding deity. She's 10-armed, representing the tenfold fruit of activities. She rides on the lion, representing her heroic prowess. She tramples down the Hishasura, representing the subduer of vices. She is the mother of two sons, Kartikeya and Ganesha, representing beauty and success. She is placed between Lakshmi and Saraswati, representing mundane knowledge, mundane opulence, and mundane knowledge. She is armed with the 20 weapons, representing the various pious activities enjoined by the Vedas for suppression of vices. She holds the snake, representing the beauty of destructive time. So that's a description of what she looks like. And Bhaktisiddhanta does this little etymology. Durga, that's her name, is possessed of Durga, which means a prison house. When jivas, begotten of the marginal potency, forget the service of Krishna, they're confined in the mundane prison house, the citadel of Durga. So at the top on the left, that's Krishna. Krishna oversees the three modes of nature, and the three modes of nature are controlling the living entities within the creation. And that's the Durga function. And here's another image where she's trampling the Hishasura, and the lion is helping. Another similar image. There are so many arms. Now, many of you probably come on Krishna Janmashtami to the temple also. And one of the things that we hear at Krishna Janmashtami is the birth of Krishna. And just before the birth of Krishna, because it was told that Krishna would be born as the 8th son of Devaki, right? The first 6 children were killed. Vasudeva gave the child, the children, the consequence killed the child. 6 down, 2 to go. The 7th child was within the womb of Devaki. Krishna called his internal potency Yogamaya, and she was very happy. Yes, some service. What is it? He gave her some service. The service was to transfer the 7th child from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. That was the first service. The second service was, next, you take birth as the daughter of Yashoda, and I'll take birth as the 8th child of Devaki. We'll be born the same night. And then the next service is, I'm going to ask Vasudeva to carry me to the other side of the river Jamuna. It was part of the strategy. He'll place me by the side of Mother Yashoda, bring you back by the side of Devaki. Kamsa will think you're the 8th child. He'll try to kill you, but don't worry, he won't be able to kill you because you might override potency, can't kill you. And then the final service is, after that, you'll go here and there throughout the land, and people will know you by the name of the external potency. And so when Kamsa came and tried to kill the 8th child, she slipped out of his hands, and Durga showed her form and spoke to Kamsa. Kamsa, you are such a fool. The 8th child of Devaki has already been born. Don't kill any more children, or else you're in big trouble. And she disappeared. Kamsa went and apologized and said, gee, I'm sorry I killed your 6 children. So The relationship message of this story is Yogamaya is the internal or chit potency, and Durga is the shadow reflection of that internal potency. Or you can say, Durga is the expansion of Yogamaya. You with me? Hope they don't have to do it again. I hope this is clear. Because the internal potency of Krishna or Vishnu can expand herself. And she expands herself according to the indication of the Lord to expand herself. She expands herself as Durga. Okay, so we covered 3 of those verses. We're going to cover 2 of those verses. The created realms and the realm of Devi Dham. Now we're going to go to the abode of Brahma. So please bear in mind, the person that's creating these verses is Lord Brahma. So he's speaking about the post. Because the post of Brahma as the creator is a post that somebody occupies. So this is speaking about Brahma. We heard about him already. He is the chief engineer of this universe. He assembled all the parts of the universe and then filled it up with living entities. I draw the primeval Lord Govinda. Here he's shown with many cows. From whom the separated subjective portion, Brahma, technical language, received the power for the regulation of the mundane world. Just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all the effulgent gems that bear the names of Suryakanta, etc. So, in our Western culture, we don't know much about Suryakanta gems, but I'll tell you a little bit about them. They're sometimes you see like crystal chandeliers, and there's bulbs, and not just glass, but crystal. When the glass passes through the crystals, it diffuses the light, and it's very attractive. But that's light that's diffused in different ways. The Suryakanta gem, literally, it absorbs the light of the sun. You can hold it in your hand. It is effulgent like the sun. A little bit of the luminosity or illumination power of the sun is within that gem. So as the gem may hold the light of the sun, the comparison is being made that Brahma receives power from Krishna, like the Suryakanta gem receives power from the sun to be luminous. Brahma receives power from the personality of Godhead to regulate the universe, to create it and to regulate it. It says this similarly. There are some places within the Vedic literature, specifically the Puranas, that seem to equate Brahma and Vishnu. And the explanation is, it's like this Suryakanta gem in the sun. The luminous feature of the gem and the luminous feature of the sun are the same. One is very tiny, the other is very big. There's oneness in quality, not oneness in quantity. You good? An example that shows the tininess is found in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. One time, Krishna requested Lord Brahma to come visit him in Dwarka. So Brahmaki was very happy. Fantastic. Krishna calling me to come see him. So he came. When he reached Dwarka, there was a gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper said, "Excuse me, could you let me know who you are?" Well, Krishna called me and said, "I'd like to let Krishna know that you're right, and you identify yourself." "Yes, tell Krishna that Lord Brahma has come." So the messenger came back and he said, "Krishna wants to know which Lord Brahma." He said, "What do you mean, which Lord Brahma?" "I'm Lord Brahma, the father of the four Kumars and the creator of this universe. That's why." And so, just wait here, I'll be back in a moment. So while he was waiting for the messenger to come back in a moment, he had, with his painting shows, he was able to see not only Krishna, but Krishna and all the Brahmas from all the different universes coming at once, bowing their many heads at the lotus feet of Krishna. He could see them all, and they could not see him. And they paid their respects. They offered very, very beautiful prayers. Krishna thanked them for coming to see him, and they disappeared. They went back to their abode. So Krishna was finished now, it's receiving all the various Brahmas, and this Brahma from our universe came before him, and Krishna said, "What can I do for you?" Very nice of you, Brahma. He said, "You've taken care of all my needs." I was very proud, thinking I'm the creator of the universe. And now my pride is completely gone. Because I understand I'm very insignificant. And you're the source of everything. My heart is fully satisfied. So that's a description of Lord Brahma. Now we have just two more. These are selected verses from Brahma Samhita on the topic, for those who came a little later, on the topic of conceptions of divinity. Where he addressed the pantheistic conception, he addressed the God of the heart conception, God within nature, God within the heart. Now, the Supreme Personality of God that resides beyond the creation in the spiritual realm. And we're addressing finally also, there are some that have this polytheism conception of divinity. And though the powers of those different personalities, controllers of the universes, of this universe, they derive their power from one source. That's what we're doing. Now comes Ganesha. Some of you are very familiar with Ganesha. Here's what Lord Brahma says in relation to Lord Ganesha. Here's the translation. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesha, pictured there on the right, upon the pair of tumuli. What's a tumuli? Bhaktisiddhanta, his English was not his first language, but his English is better than my English. His vocabulary is amazing, his use of language is amazing. I had to look the word up, tumuli. Tumuli is a Latin word that is the plural of tumulus. And tumulus, as shown at the bottom, it means to bulge or swell. And a common use of the word tumulus had to do with, in some cultures, when there's a a holy man or a village elder, a very respected person, when there's a burial, instead of just putting him in the ground, they make this mound to mark the spot where he was buried. And one of those mounds is called the tumulus. If you have more than one, it's called the tumuli. That's the plural. So on the head of an elephant, there's two bulges commonly. Two of them makes tumuli. So back to the image. The Sanskrit word kumbha, those of you from India, you know what kumbha means pot. Bandhava, there's two. Kumbha Dvandve, that's these two tumuli, the top of the elephant's head. So the verse is saying, the lotus feet of Krishna, Govinda, are upon the two bulges in the top of Ganesha's head. And why? In order to obtain the power for his function of destroying all the obstacles on the path of progress of the three worlds. For those of you that are familiar with yajnas or sacrifices, more specifically karmakanda sacrifices, one essential person to invoke is Ganesha, because he removes the obstacles for achieving the purpose of the yajna. So you say the name of the person, you say the name of the devata who is being propitiated, and you say Ganesha's name because he's got to remove the obstacles. But where does Ganesha get the power to remove obstacles? Govinda. And our acharyas say the form of Govinda that places his lotus feet on the tumuli of Ganesha is Lotus Srinivas. And so when we have our arti ceremony, at the end of the arti ceremony, what do? We sing the Srinivas prayers. Why do we sing the Srinivas prayers? We sing the Srinivas prayers because in the course of that worship of the deity, there may have been some mistakes, unintentional mistakes. And so to remove the obstacles that come as a result of seva aparad or mistakes in worship Lord Srinivas. Nice. So Ganesha removes obstacles in the path of progress of the three worlds. Lord Srinivas removes obstacles in the path of attaining the spiritual world. The obstacles in the path of bhakti. So that's Brahma Samhita's description of the position of Ganesha. And there's one more, we're done for the evening. This is about the sun. Savita means the sun. And the sun, according to Vedic conception, the earth is moving around the sun is also moving around the earth, and there's not a contradiction. And if I had more time, I would explain it. That's Vedic cosmology. Translation reads, the sun, who is the king of all the planets full of infinite effulgence, the image of the good soul, is as the eye of this world. I adore the title of Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. So this, I'll do it quickly. Every 24 hours, the the sun, excuse me, the earth is spinning. And so we see the sun rise in the east instead of the west, and the next day the sun rises in the east instead of the west. And that's a change every 24 hours. But in the course of one solar year, there's a movement of the sun. And for those of us in the northern hemisphere, like in India, the northern hemisphere, there's the time of the year where the days are longest and the nights are shortest. It's called the summer solstice. And then the sun starts moving in a southerly direction where the days and the nights are equal duration, called the equinox. And then it goes down into the southern hemisphere where, for us in the northern hemisphere, the days are shortest and nights are longest. And then it starts moving in the northerly direction. In India, that's called Makar Sankranti, or in Western cosmology, it's winter solstice. And then it starts moving in the northerly direction. So what this verse is saying is the sun is moving under the order of Govinda. Ooh, so it moves under the order of Govinda. The will, the icha of the Supreme Lord. Here's a description from Bhagavad Gita. The sun exhibits the infinite effulgence due only to the power invested in him by Govinda. You see at the bottom. The splendor of the sun, chapter 15, the splendor of the sun which dissipates the darkness of this whole world comes from me, Krishna. And the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. The conceptions of divinity, Krishna, is the source of the sun and under the order of which the sun moves. Two last little things that we're done. There's this nice description in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, where outside of Dwarka there was a king named Satrajit, and he was a sun worshipper. And from worshiping the sun every day for hours with offerings and mantras and so forth, one day the sun god appeared before him, gave him this benediction of his well wishes, and gave him this very special Surya Kanta gem. Remember that word? We mentioned it before. It's a self-effulgent gem. And he said, you worship this gem and two things. 70 pounds of gold every day the gem will produce. That's a lot of gold. 70 pounds of gold. And in addition, you worship the gem nicely, and there'll be no disease, no irregularities of weather, no problems, no material disturbances like that. And so Satrajit was very happy, and he became very proud, and his pride became his downfall. We won't go into the detail. We also hear, aside from Satrajit, that there was a difficulty for the Pandavas when they were in exile. They were still very popular, people came to see them, but they were out in the forest and didn't have necessities to provide hospitality for everyone. And so Yudhishthira worshipped the sun god, and the sun god gave him this magic pot, Akshaya Patra pot, and said, you give this to Draupadi, and this magic pot can produce unlimited foodstuffs for as many people as come and pay you a visit. But after Draupadi takes her meal, that's it for the day. So the sun god appears in that place in Mahabharata. So that's a little bit about the sun. Now, in this universe, what's more powerful than the sun? The sun gives life to everything. And where does the sun get its power to give life to everything? From the ultimate source of everything. So this is this topic of conceptions of divinity. And as I said at the very beginning, some of you came in that very began. I'm contemplating making a whole series on, of the world today, in the spiritual marketplace today. When people are out there looking around for spirituality, what do they find? What are the conceptions of divinity that are out there? Buddhism, and what's all that about? Yeah, MAHARAJ philosophy, become one with the Supreme, what's that all about? But I'm thinking to give some, like a series on conceptions of divinity and what's all this big deal about Krishna anyways? Why are people so enthusiastic about Krishna as the conception of divinity? Just not necessarily people who accept the conception of Krishna, but just to put things in a context. So that was the intention this evening. Maybe not so well refined, but it's a beginning. So any comments or questions? We're having a little problem with our sound system. I hope it isn't. Okay. No comments or questions. You're all for this. Okay, fantastic. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.